So I'm doing another thing. Notice how the colors are on this tree. You notice how they look not so red? I just want to move away from it a little bit and see if they change. And then there's green ones behind there. Well, and it's hard to tell these colors. Isn't it? And then look at the colors now. And see how they look different? I once took pictures of your mom like that. In leaves like this. Tara Beth Canes and aliases. And isn't that weird? I mean, as I walk down this tree-lined walkway here, pathway, it's interesting how the colors seem to change as you move away from them. Or if I walk the other way. See how perspective changes? See how shadow changes? Isn't that weird? Some would say no. Expect that. See how sometimes the trees look really a lot different? I think that's fascinating. And it's not very often that people talk about that. I mean, do you ever sit and talk in a regular conversation about the colors of tree leaves in movement? I know, and you're like, well, you have this weird this, you know. I know, well, I use what I have, you know. And besides, I think it's more interesting. I think it's interesting, for one, walking around with a computer, kind of like that Geo-Earth thing, you know, when they do in those cars. Walking around with a camera and talking, especially one that has a keyboard on it, you know, you're like, well, that's weird. You know, why would you do that? Well, and mainly it's to talk about, see how the colors look back there? Or did you even notice that the colors changed? Or were you paying attention to me? See how these kind of look green? But I'm looking at them and they look really yellow. See how they look different on a monitor than maybe in real life? And how that can distort your perspective on things. Or change your perspective on what you're seeing. Now those look different in person than on camera. So have you ever wondered how some things that people put on the news look horrible and terrible? And you're like, oh, that's the most awful thing I've ever seen. But if you saw it in person, you'd be like, oh, that didn't look so bad. And how, like in movies, they make things look really bad. It's because they want to draw you in. Right? And those leaves look really different now, don't they? Interesting, huh? I don't know. It's It's weird, isn't it? And how that looks different? Spinning around in circles. And then stopping. Strange. Well, I'm going to go and upload these all right now. Take a minute and think about what I said. And then apply that to words, too. You know, I talked a little bit about the gray areas in words and how they can mean different things in different languages when you translate them. Well, if you can translate them. I know some cultures, they have no words for things. Isn't that fascinating? And see how dark it is now. Different perspective. Think about that too when you're thinking about perspective when it comes to other people's words and when it comes to written language. It might be surprising how easy somebody can read somebody else's words and take a totally different meaning from them. And how 3 people, or 4, or 5, can have totally different opinions about the same exact thing. More later.